This boy and girl are going to be well equipped when the time comes to take their places as worthy members of adult society.
Aloha, y'all. This is Daniel Eisenman, the host of the Breaking Normal podcast, where my guests are all invited based on the frequency of synchronicity, all done in person, and all trailblazers in the breaking of all things normal.
Oh, we're rolling.
All right.
All right. She looks like she's putting tallow on. Is that tallow or
it
what?
Is tallow? Yeah,
Okay.
tallow and honey.
Nice.
We have a ranch up in the desert, in the San Luis Valley, and I was out there and got a little bit sunburned. So.
Do you use sunscreen at all?
I generally don't, although I'm going to start making sunscreen.
Ooh, I wish we put for our tallow balm. We recently added organic carrot seed oil and organic red raspberry seed oil that allegedly has quite the high SPF.
Cool.
All right, anywho, y'all, I'm welcoming back my good friend Alice Starek from the Golden Hoof. She's been on the show before. Last time we recorded in. Is it called a cob home or what do you call that?
Yeah. It was straw bale, cob.
You said is it still there?
It's still there.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Straw bale on the outside, cob on the inside, whatever.
Yeah. It's an amazing spot. It seems like if you have not listened to that episode, I highly recommend it. Alice runs the Golden Hoof here in Boulder, which it seems like I might be recommending too many people go there. I'm a big raw milk drinker and a big duck egg, and sometimes the meat itself. But I go to the Golden Hoof. Let's put it this way: I am not without a car currently, and I've been really enjoying like these surprise rewards of not having a car.
Yeah,
like my daughter and I are walking so much more and spending more time together.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And spending more time outside in the cold and the sun.
Yeah.
And my main temptation to get a car has been so I can go to the Golden Hoof
thanks.
easier. Because y'all are about a solid 7 miles from us, I think.
That's a good hike.
Yeah. Yeah. But the reason is because I like you and everything y'all are doing there. And that you sell Tribe vitamins successfully. I think the first store we partnered with or club, is it a meat club or a private member shop? Okay.
It's a meat club that's also a PMA, a private membership association. Yeah.
And is it still goldenhoof.com? Is that the website or is it
The Golden Hoof.
Thegoldenhoof.com?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Just making sure because I know a lot of people are interested in this conversation. Just yesterday I was at the sauna. And I was talking something about raw milk. Like a lot of people ask me about my diet once they see me in the sauna. My dad would be proud of that humble brag. Sure enough, this guy hears me talking about raw milk, and he's like, this guy comes up to me, kind of awkwardly, but cool. He's like, what'd you say about raw milk? Like, he's like, where do I get raw milk from? Because he's like from Sun Valley, Idaho. Yeah. And I can totally appreciate what he's doing. In Idaho, he allegedly can just go to the store right now and get it.
That's very cool.
And it turns out he's on the U.S. ski team.
All right.
And he wants that good food that y'all are serving.
Good for him.
So I get the milk, the eggs, the honey, the meat. I've really enjoyed the current ancestral blend.
Yeah.
And and rabbits on special occasions. Like when my girlfriend was visiting from Italy recently, we had that awesome rabbit stew.
Yeah, cool.
So thank you. Thank you for me and the whole community. And what are y'all most excited about with the project since I talked to you probably about a year ago? Check out the interview. It's called Alice Stark from the Golden Hoof. So you can get a full story. But I want to catch up from there to start.
So, everything's really exciting right now. We've kind of been through the ringer, as I think most farms have. And right now, everything, knock on wood quickly, everything feels amazing. Our big project is we're developing our pasture into what you call a silvopasture. And then we're developing a whole bunch of perennial row cropping for pigs and birds to eat. So basically... And are you familiar with silvopasture?
No, that's one of the reasons I love this podcast is because I'm excited to learn about that.
It's been around for a long time, but not a whole lot of people know about it. When you're, where do I even start? I get frustrated a lot because people think, oh, you guys are so cool because you've got, raw milk or you've got the best eggs. And it's like, people think that all grass-fed meat is the same. But I get grass-fed meat at Whole Foods, and it's really frustrating for me because grass-fed is just a huge range. It's not it's kind of like saying beef is good for you or beef is bad for you. We can have that argument all day long, but what beef are we talking about here? Because there are a lot of different kinds of beef in the world. And the same is true with a pasture. So if I want to call my beef grass-fed, I can put them in a great big feedlot and give them hay, and that's grass-fed. I can do that year-round. And that's 100% grass-fed.
So some 100% grass-fed cattle are fed hay in a feedlot.
Absolutely.
All year long.
Yes.
Wow.
It
I'm happy to say
be-
that's not the case with the bison I work with, but
No, I mean, and there's some great grass-fed products
Yeah,
out there,
I'm
but
like,
they're
wow.
not all the same, right? It's the same. It's kind of like people talk about pastured eggs. So what does that mean? Well, legally, it's not really defined, but you don't even need to have grass in your pasture. Right? A field of dirt is pasture.
yeah, this gets to some pretty hard topics for the public to decipher because we're working against the multi-million, billion-dollar marketing geniuses.
We are. And they really don't want us to know. And they want to have a way for someone to make a really cheap product and greenwash it so we think it's great. And they've done an excellent job. And so what happens is different products come up, and like right now people are really highlighting raw milk. And raw milk's a great product because you can't make it poorly and make it safe, right?
Well,
you can
good
make
point.
really bad pasteurized milk and it's still safe because it's dead, right? There's nothing left, and so that's hip right now, and that's great, but I think we need to look beyond that, right? Because there's so many problems in our industrial system and so many levels, and a lot of it is we believe, we see the picture of pastured and the picture is beautiful, but that's not necessarily what you're actually getting or what the animals are actually getting. So we've been working really hard for a long time to develop a seriously diversified pasture. So when you look at, when you talk about like how healthy is beef fat or beef in itself or meat in general, they're just starting to understand what actually makes meat healthy. I shouldn't say, starting to actually study and break it down. And, grain-fed beef has a whole lot of omega-6s and not a whole lot of phytonutrients. A lot of grass-fed is pretty similar. And some grass-fed is unbelievably great. It gets up to like a 1-to-1 omega-3 to 6 fatty acid ratio. That's like we're getting into, salmon territory here.
Okay.
We're talking about seriously healthy fats.
Okay.
And we're starting to get the kind of phytonutrients that people talk about vegetables having. But of course, like things like broccoli. But there's variation in everything, right? Not all broccoli is the same. Not all beef is the same. And what they're learning about beef in particular that they're studying is that the number of species in the field has everything to do with how healthy the animal is. So if it's just eating alfalfa, great protein.
The number of species of what they're consuming. Okay.
Yeah,
so fair.
sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm paying
Yeah.
attention. This is such a relevant topic for me.
I think it's relevant for everybody
Yeah,
who's interested in health, right? Who's looking to optimize rather than just, cutting out the bottom. And so what they've found is once you reach about 7 different species, so, you're eating the cow is eating some legumes, it's eating some grasses, it's eating some forbs, all of a sudden you're getting into a whole new territory in terms of health, which makes sense. Think about it. It's getting all these different plants have different relationships with the soil. There are different bacteria that grow or fungi that have relationships with them. It's like if you want to build a healthy microbiome in soil, you need lots of different plants above the soil to create that. And if you want a healthy microbiome in your cow, you're going to do the same thing.
So,
A silvopasture.
but is Silva a person's name, or is it an acronym? What does that mean?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, okay.
I have no idea.
So a silvopasture does it mean they have 7 varieties of grasses the cows are
No,
eating from, or just
has
the
nothing to do with that.
biodiversity goal?
It's simply adding trees to pasture.
Okay. Adding trees to pasture.
Trees to pasture. Yeah.
Where it's just not grass pastures.
It's not just, well, you could have grass and legumes and forbs, right? All the things that grow. And then you've got things like bushes, and things like trees. And some of them have really great nutrients for cows and sheep and goats and different species.
These trees.
The trees do, like the leaves.
Okay. So where are the trees that are being planted? What are y'all planting?
I don't know everything we're going to plant yet. We're going to do honey locust, black locust. We'll do mulberries, probably persimmons, willows, poplars. We're going to do a whole bunch of different stuff. We'll probably do some fruit on standard rootstock, so fruit trees that get 35, 40 feet tall kind of thing,
Wow.
instead of the little ones.
It sounds just beautiful and better. Why is this not a...
So it's so cool, Daniel, on so many levels, because so the first thing from the conversation we were having about health, it's going to multiply, again, like the diversity that the animals are getting, which in and of itself is huge. The next thing it's going to do, honey locust pods, if you get the trees that are really messy that people have been trying to avoid for years, these pods are full of sugar and protein.
Okay.
And they're good through March, April of the following year. So they fall on the ground, and you've got this incredible forage that makes, by the way, amazing raw dairy that the cows can eat in the middle of winter on the field that we don't have to harvest for them. So it makes them healthier. It gives them forage year round. It can almost double the forage in a pasture. So it can do almost as much as what the grasses and forbs can give you. And what's really cool on top of it just keeps going, because it also, it creates dappled shade if you plant them right and the right species, right? So you're getting, and the grasses here can't handle the heat in summer. It's getting too hot, right? And global warming, right? Our temperatures are going up. And if we want things to grow really well, we need to keep the temperature down a little bit. And trees are one of the best ways to do that. And it's all about plants and coverage.
Wow, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so we can lower the temperatures on the farm, which will make the animals healthier in and of itself. That'll make our grasses and legumes and forbs all grow better. It'll give more variety. It'll give us, it's like stacking. And then the trees have deeper roots, so they can get access water that you can't access, right? So if you're in a drought, and it lowers the temperature, which means you have less evaporation, right? So you're kind of creating a microclimate with more humidity, less heat, more stable temperature, more diversity. So, it's really cool. And I need to put a plug in. Boulder County is paying for us to do this. Boulder County is paying us to plant 1,000 trees, whatever it's going to be.
Wow.
How cool is that?
That's great. Are they not the ones choosing what's being, this is up to
No,
y'all?
they're letting us do it,
Man,
which
that's
is
so fun.
which is really fantastic. It's like being a kid in the candy shop.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Right? We're getting to, and they're
On the land, on the Golden Hoof land.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm super excited. I think, for all the crazy things that are going on in the world right now, there are a lot of people who are trying really hard to do the right thing and make good things happen. And I'm so pumped about it.
Me too.
I know it's a little crazy, but it's scary times. But I also think there's some really great stuff happening out there.
Oh, and by the way, I'd be remiss if I don't ask, because I was just talking to her. My girlfriend's coming back for the summer, and she wants to work with y'all. And I was like, no, I could just ask Alice. I don't know if they're looking for work. Maybe she could tell me no publicly and then tell me something else privately. But I don't. Is that something that do y'all need help?
We do not. We are fully staffed right now. Yeah. So we actually have the best staff. Past staffs. We have the best staff we've ever had. We've got a whole bunch of folks right now, and they're all working really well as a team, and they're smart, and they're dedicated, and they're into it, and it's so exciting. We're getting so much done. So, it's scary, right? It always is. We have so many balls in the air. But that's all right. That's life. That's farming.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Well, here's a topic that I definitely also want to bring up.
Okay.
Because you probably know this more about this than I do. Like I pay attention to like things on the surface a lot, but there's something I guess deep going on with the eggs. What's going
Sure,
on
yeah,
with
eggs.
the eggs? Like
Eggs are a great topic.
But this is a big trending topic right now.
It
right?
is I mean, I would imagine it is. I mean, it has been, whether it still is or not. I mean, there's so much misinformation out there. It's crazy.
Can you break us down the truth of what's happening?
I can break down what I
Because
know,
your
or I
eggs.
can
Did you
break
bring
down.
any eggs?
I can. Nope, I did.
Oh, I want to show off.
You
the
asked for eggs and milk, and I refused to because eggs and milk are both so hip right now.
Oh,
And the
but
last
wanted
thing
to
I
show
want
off
to do is
eggs.
encourage
Duck eggs.
people to like. I mean, you know, yeah, duck eggs. The duck eggs
No,
are
your
cool,
duck
man.
eggs are-
They're like, everybody's like, oh, $1 an egg. I'm like, have you tried
That's
one
I
of
was
these
kind of
eggs?
tell the same thing. I'm like, first of
know?
all, I get double yolks a lot
Yeah,
of the time.
I mean, well, they're twice as big as
Sometimes
a chicken
3
egg,
or-
and
yeah.
they're native. Excuse me, like wild ducks are everywhere. Who's seen a wild chicken in Colorado?
Good point. Good point.
You know, I mean, it's like the ducks eat what's here. Like that pasture I'm talking about. I mean, they're gonna love that.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna love
You know,
their
I mean,
eggs,
that's what they're gonna think they died and went to heaven, which I am so excited
All right,
about.
and well,
but
one note,
eggs, okay,
Before you begin on eggs, I
Yeah.
do want to say something about your birds.
yes,
The other way I describe it to people, and maybe tell me if this is accurate or not,
Okay.
because especially if the price comes up, I'm like, well, these are not like free range chickens. These are like they could leave. It
Right,
looks like
yeah.
they could just leave
Oh, yeah,
if
they
they
could
wanted to, but they are choosing to be on this
We-
property. This is how free they are.
I had a great story once. I got to tell you this one. It's a fun egg story. We had all our birds. They're just loose. They're free. We got 27 acres, and they go where they want. And one day a cop comes down our driveway, and I'm like, what the hell is like, you know? And he's got his lights on and shit. I'm like, what is going on? Like who, you know? I mean, like who's in trouble?
Yeah.
And I walk out to talk to the guy, and he's like, you know, your ducks could go out in the road. I was like, yeah, they could. And he's like, well, that could be dangerous. And I was like, it could. And he's like, well, what are you going to do about that? And I was like, nothing. And he's like, well, and I'm like, you're on private property, dude. Like, is there a law against me having a duck in my driveway? Like, you know, you're the one who doesn't have any right to be in my driveway. And he finally left, and he was nice enough, but it was like,
I was not anticipating that story.
yeah, no, it really kind of creeped me and some of our staff
yeah,
out.
so-
We were like, what are you, like, you're like mad at me because my ducks are free? Like, really? Like, and why in God's name would my duck want to be in the road?
It's
Like-
also just the hypotheticalness of it.
Yeah.
If a duck was in the road, I
Yeah,
could see
yeah.
some.
If my duck is in the road, by all means, you come tell me about it. And if you need to give me a ticket for my duck being in the road, then we could talk about that, you know. But in the meanwhile, you know,
That's hilarious.
we're all on the farm and we're doing our thing. So you just go do your thing, and we'll all be fine. But anyway, yeah, it was pretty shocking. So eggs, yeah. So I know you know this story. We had the USDA come, how many years ago was that? They killed all our birds.
Oh, man.
I want to say 5 years ago,
Yeah,
4 years ago.
Time. If we have time to talk about time, it seems like time sped up during this whole situation.
I have
but-
no sense of time. But anyway, at the beginning of the avian flu thing, let's just say
Okay,
that. We had no idea that avian flu even existed. I could have cared less. We had a sick bird. We called the vet because, you know, we're like, I don't know what's going on here. I had never seen anything like this before. And our vet was out of town, and we called someone we didn't know. And next thing you know, the USDA was on our farm. And, you know, we had private signs, and they were like, yeah, you know, we just heard and we want to take a look around. Well, anyway, we never fully got rid of them and didn't really know how to and didn't understand. And it turns out that our birds did have avian flu. And so they killed every bird on the farm and quarantined us. We couldn't have birds for, I think it was like 6 months. They gave us the option. We could spray the entire farm because they were loose. We could spray the whole farm with toxic chemicals to kill the flu virus, or we could not have a bird for 6 months. So we took the birds to our ranch.
Good choice.
And anyway, and didn't have birds for 6 months. And since then we don't call vets for almost anything. We have our own vets, very cool. But vets, they're paying the vets now. The government is. They get, I think it's like, it's like $50 or a couple $100. But if they report like a bird flu case, so they're basically paying vets.
Who gets the person
the
that
vet
reports?
The vet gets if they turn you in for having a sick bird.
Oh, to the USDA.
To the USDA,
They get paid?
The USDA pays them.
Do you know how much?
That's what I was just saying. I can't remember if it was 50 or a couple hundred, which is a pretty big gap.
Well, it's still just good to know.
But the fact
it's
that
good to know. Whenever I want to try to make more relevance of these convoluted situations, following the money seems to add clarity.
You got to be really careful. Most diseases they don't really care that much about, but when they care about a disease, you really, in my opinion, want to keep the government out of it.
But why didn't you care about the avian? Like if one of your birds had the flu, because some people would probably want to know why is that not an issue for you?
To not know? Well, I mean,
if your birds had the flu, is that an issue?
Sure, if they're sick, I want to take care of them.
But do you want to kill them for that?
No.
Does that make them
no.
Does that make them inedible?
No.
It doesn't.
Actually, when they came, the guys who came and talked to us about it, they said that the eggs are completely safe, the meat is completely safe. The issue that they're worried about is it spreading. And spreading, the big fear, of course, is that it's going to spread to a human. Mm-hmm. And now they're scared about that with raw milk as well. It's never actually happened from raw milk.
But they think we can get a virus from the cow from drinking raw milk? Or
they think that's a possibility. It's never happened to my knowledge. Yeah. And if it had, I'm sure they would let us know. They keep saying, there was someone who drank raw milk who had it, but they're not. I can drink raw milk and have any kind of flu. They haven't actually associated it with getting it from raw milk.
Okay.
What they do, like the people who they've found to have avian flu, they've tested it so far with nasal swabs, which doesn't actually mean that it's in your system, right?
Okay.
If I breathe in a bacteria, it's going to be on my nose because that's a moist area that can breed bacteria, right? And, but that doesn't mean it's going to get into my system. So I don't really know if it's actually gotten in anyone's system or not. I've certainly been very exposed to avian flu on plenty of occasions. And certainly have never had any symptom of anything, as the rest of our staff. And so at this point, I don't think it can really affect a relatively healthy human. That doesn't mean that it won't change or morph.
But the
whatever.
public fear is this possibly transmittable?
The public fear seems to be pretty large.
Is that what they're scared about? This is where I'm like, sometimes I just look at things at the surface. I'm like, stories. I don't want to look more into that.
Viruses and stuff morph, right? They change, just like we change. And there's a fear that it'll change into something really dangerous. It could. What do I know about how a virus is going to change? I wish they would focus more on keeping us all healthy rather than what might kill us if we're not healthy.
I had a friend that's been on the show, and I saw he made a post the other day. He's a cardiologist. He was like, do you know the best way to prevent a COVID diagnosis?
Don't go to the doctor.
Don't get the test.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's kind of
because it reminded me of that swab thing.
Yeah.
I did that once for legal reasons.
Uh-huh. Not pleasant.
They almost had to say they were going to have to bring the team in because I kept telling them,
hold you down.
Stop. I'm like, stop.
Yeah, it hurts at some point.
Well, and it's just so invasive. It feels. I don't want to use it. It feels violating.
Yeah,
I'll put it that way.
I can see that.
I did that one time for. Anyways, when you did that swab thing, it made me think of all this stuff.
Sorry, I didn't mean to trigger you.
No, you did a little bit in a good way.
Apologies to anyone who's triggered.
No, but I'm happy to talk about that publicly. There was a lot of people that I really were proud of that like spoke against making your own choice when it came to the vaccine thing, and I was really, but they were all so like, oh yeah, we test all our people, I'm like, well, that's a little, why do that part? Why even participate in that part of it?
Yeah, if someone feels healthy, they're probably not transmitting anything.
And who knows the accuracy of those? And then I've heard some company may have bought all those swabs for the DNA.
Sure. I mean,
it's like, whoa.
Who knows?
Anyways,
I mean, it's all. But anyway, so bird flu, I'm pretty sure we've had bird flu on the farm several times since then. We've certainly had it, with the dairy animals. Like we've had symptoms that have matched what they talk about, and we haven't had any issues. I mean, if an animal's looks like it's fighting something, we're not milking it, or you know what I mean? Like we're not going to give you the milk. But I mean, I think it's a virus that's out there, All
right. So how is this connected to the eggs, though? Is this connected to the eggs?
It's just avian flu. Same. Oh, yeah. We were talking about eggs.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out why this
avian
topic
flu,
is so trending.
Oh, well, because people are scared, right? The price has gone way up. There have been shortages, which is avian flu.
Because they're killing all the birds.
Yeah. I mean, they're killing hundreds of millions of birds. So of course,
so then the egg supply goes down, prices go up.
and then they've now they're discovering that we only have like 7 companies that are making 90% of the eggs in this country, and so they kind of control the prices, and apparently they're making record profits.
All right, here's another question for you about eggs. I mean, I might just spend the rest of this time on eggs, depending. How is it that I go to a grocery store and all the eggs look the same in the box?
Oh, well, they have to. There are laws about that. So, it's funny because
because I've seen real eggs. Some people haven't seen real eggs. So, by the way I get the eggs at your farm and other farms I've gone to, there are a variety of colors and shapes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes
sizes,
they have like
shapes,
feathers
colors,
on them.
Textures.
Yeah, it's just amazing. They're all so different. But then I go to the grocery store and even like eggs are $1 an egg at the grocery store. I'm like, but how do they all look the exact same?
They go through. There's a law that your eggs have to be the right size to sell them.
No, I don't know about that.
It's not legal to sell 2 different sized eggs in the same carton.
I didn't know that. I mean, now it makes sense. It makes sense for shipping
reasons. I feel like an idiot
reasons.
saying this to you because
I didn't know about the law.
Yeah, it's actually a law, and I don't know what this has to do with our safety. Right.
Well, it has to do with shipping, I think.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, like we sometimes some of our eggs, like especially our duck eggs, are so big that you can't close a carton.
Yeah.
I've had people like try to force a carton close and break the eggs.
That's so hard to break with those big duck eggs. So, but anyways, they're harder shells. That's the other thing. The different hardness in shells, the different color and yolks.
Yeah.
But what are they doing to the egg? They're just picking out the ones that.
They go through a big, they go through an industrial process, right? Where they go down, I don't know what they call that, one of those little belt things, conveyor belts. Yep, and they go through and they get separated. They fall through a hole based on their size, or they get sorted.
Oh, okay.
Based on size.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that's how they pick out the sizes.
Yeah.
But how are they all the same colors?
They're all white because it's all clone genetics. So the genetics for those birds are all the same. So, and that's one of the big issues too, is if everybody had Daniel's genetics, I mean, maybe that'd be wonderful, but at some point, right, it might be better if you actually had diversity, right? And so those eggs are all from, it's like one genetic set. So our eggs are from, just this huge diversity, and we're just letting everybody, breed as they will, right? It's not, we're not picking out who's breeding with who, right? They're free range and they're doing their own thing. So all the eggs, are different, kind of half breeds and mixed breeds and this and that. And the breed determines the color of the eggshell.
Oh, really? Does the same chicken lay the same type of egg every time?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
See, there's so many basics of having chickens.
Like the shell might get a different texture or harder or softer with the same bird based on its nutrients.
Okay.
Right. So a soft shell is going to be normally not enough calcium.
Okay.
Could be some other things, but calcium's the normal thing.
Okay. Where do chickens get calcium from?
Ours get oyster shells, like ground up oyster shells. We feed them, our leftover shells. We used to try to get customers to bring their shells back because that's the perfect way to do it. But we've never done it. Well, it didn't really work all that well because people would like put them in a plastic bag and then they'd let them sit for 3 weeks and then it would smell and stick to the bag and then you'd throw you know what I mean? It's like it's kind of a thing to get, if people are used to composting, it's not that hard. But when people aren't really used to it, it can be hard.
But are some of the eggs in the grocery store, are they ever bleached or something?
Well,
like some of those
they
brands?
all basically get dropped into really hot chlorinated water.
All of them? Like all
yeah,
brands?
It's a law.
Oh. Hot chlorinated water.
I don't, I'm sure there are other things they can do.
But you're making sense. I'm going to look into it.
It's a disinfectant.
Okay.
They have to get, they get disinfected so that there's no possible contaminant on the shell.
That's what they look like. They look like they've all been picked out the same size and disinfected.
Yeah, well, that's what they have to because that's the way our culture views safety, right? So I mean, I get that. I think you view it more the way I do. It's a little more complicated than that. Washing your hands is a really amazing thing if you just potentially put some bad bacteria on it, but in a general rule, your hands have their own microbiome, and it's really better for them if you wash them less. So if you want to protect, and eggs have their own microbiome, right? And, in nature, I mean, the way it works, right, is that a hen's going to lay an egg, and then maybe the next day another, and she's going to make a nest. And she's going to keep laying till she's got maybe 14 eggs, and then she's going to sit on those eggs for 3 weeks. So we've had up to about a week where they were just sitting at whatever temperature, and then she's sitting on them for 3 weeks. And if it's fertilized, they're going to turn into babies during that time. But if they're not fertile, it's right at the end of that when they start to rot. So they've got this amazing coating on their shell that keeps them from rotting. And when you wash that, you're getting rid of a lot of bacteria because, they poop out of the same place they lay an egg, right? So that bacteria is on the egg. Like our government's not wrong that there's bacteria on that egg.
Yeah.
But there's also a coating that's designed to deal with that.
Do you wash your eggs before you eat them?
No, never.
You never with even hot water or anything?
No, never.
Never. Just even what if sometimes like blood and the fur?
I don't care.
Just wondering.
The way I see it, our eggs aren't going to have bad bacteria. Healthy birds can have healthy bacteria.
Do you eat raw eggs?
I eat our ice cream.
That's
raw egg yolks.
Yeah.
I'm not really into the texture.
Yeah,
of raw eggs.
I don't like raw egg whites. I don't like raw egg whites.
Yeah, but I don't have a problem with it.
What about
I would never eat from the grocery store.
The meat because my girlfriend's in Italy. When she visited, she was just basically doing raw ground with raw egg yolk.
That's basically, what do they call that? When you I love that stuff.
For that. Yeah,
I'm forgetting the name right now. Where you put herbs and and just eat it raw.
Usually at fancy restaurants.
It's wonderful. Yeah,
do you
I
do
think
that
it tastes
a lot?
great.
Like, do you?
Almost never.
Almost never. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Like
you don't have a problem doing that with the meat you sell.
So, I would do that with a steak.
More than the ground?
Yeah, so that's a really common misconception. So ground, as a general rule, is way more dangerous than a steak.
That's my understanding as well. But if it's frozen too,
freezing kills a lot of the bad stuff.
But then it tastes much better when it's not frozen. In my opinion.
You and I.
I know you disagree with that, maybe.
There are things that change a lot with freezing. I think there are other things that change less. All
right, but tell us why, if you're going to eat raw meat, why you think eating ground is not different than eating steak. I want to hear that.
If you buy ground from me or from a store or anyone else, we've taken a piece of meat, like a whole piece of meat, and we'll put it through a grinder, and then we've put it into a package. And that, if I have the whole piece of meat up front, the whole piece of meat, the only part that I could have contaminated, me, like your handler, your butcher, is the surface of that. once I put that through the grinder, I've taken the surface that could have contaminants on it, and I've mixed it all up so that now those contaminants can be in the center
Of the machine.
of the meat.
Oh, of the meat. Oh, because it's
So
been
now
ground up.
you've got a package that instead of having the potential, only having the potential for surface contamination, now I've got a piece of meat that has potential for contamination all the way through. And so if I had a grocery store piece of meat that I was a little bit worried about, but I wanted to eat raw, I could either trim the edges off or I could quick flash grill at a high temperature the very edges and leave it raw in the middle and grind that up. And I've killed any potential bacteria, more or less. I mean, there's still, if they did a really bad job, there's still some possible. But I mean, you're taking care of 99% of the potential problems by doing that.
But what would be the concern? What's the bacteria? You mean like an E. coli of sorts?
Yeah,
or like,
sure.
But not like a parasite.
I don't
Do you
wash
think
my
parasites?
hands. Anything that I have on me or that's in our farm, right? Or that's in our butcher room.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Right?
So, yeah, these
So,
are good things to think about, I think.
You know, it's kind of like the whole argument, and I don't, I mean, I fall very firmly on one side of this, but I also get the other side. You know, if I'm growing vegetables in a field, I need to keep all the animals out of the field so that, all my farm animals, so that they can't possibly poop on it, right? Or rub up against, your lettuce with a poopy side or whatever it is they might have, right? But there's also wildlife, right? And if a bird flies over your field and poops and it lands on your lettuce, you've got poop on your lettuce, right? And so how worried are you about that?
Oh, yeah. I'm not. Do you wash your lettuce?
Now, for me, I'm not worried about that.
Do you wash your produce when you eat it?
I do not.
Okay.
But I mean, I only do local produce. Like I don't go to the grocery store and buy.
Are you familiar with this wax thing on these produce?
Yeah,
Can you tell me about that too? Because this is something I'm slightly concerned about.
I mean, they've been doing it for a really long time. I'm not going to know all the details, but yeah, I mean, they wax all kinds of foods. It's a way to. So when we make cheese, we either rub them with lard or tallow, right? Because
the cheese blocks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like any cheese I'm going to age is going to get rubbed with lard or tallow because it's going to seal that cheese and protect it from things like mold.
Okay.
And it's going to keep different stuff out of it. So petroleum is a lot cheaper, right, in our system. And so the industrial food system is going to use a petroleum product instead of lard or tallow.
Are you saying this would be the case for cheeses?
Absolutely.
Like in Whole Foods, even like the raw cheeses?
You think Whole Foods is better than any other grocery
store? I'm just
store?
wondering if like the raw cheese supplier from Italy, maybe they don't fuck with that
So the raw
or
cheese supplier in Italy is only going to give us their winter cheese. So all their best cheese is going to stay in Italy when those animals are eating grass.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Think about that, right? So they're sending the stuff they don't want and it doesn't pass their test. That's what they're sending here.
My dad was just telling me something about this, like in China, the vapes they're selling here to the U.S. are illegal in China. The vape pen
Yeah, it doesn't
things.
surprise me.
I was like, wow, yeah, that was
There's
kind of my
a
thing.
lot
I
of
was like,
stuff
that doesn't surprise me much either.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad how much corporations kind of seem to own our country, but.
The cheese one though, I mean, I didn't know that. You're telling me these cheeses are dipped in some sort of petroleum thing or something?
Most of them are, yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I would never eat the rind off of an industrial cheese.
Right. You mean like the waxy part?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I accidentally eat a little bit of it.
And also, I mean,
What about the
while
buffalo
we're on
mozzarella?
the subject of cheeses,
Yeah.
so industrial cheeses and yogurt, like they get this. People think they're healthy, right? I guess. I don't know. Do they?
Well, I think if they think it's healthier, it's more likely it could be healthy for them, potentially.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that because our psychology is a big deal.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100% on that one. All the cheeses and yogurts and whatnot, they're all using genetically modified bacteria to culture them.
Yeah, I saw this in one of your newsletters.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing.
Tell me more.
So
say this one more time. Tell me that one more time.
So if you get a yogurt from the grocery store, have you gotten a yogurt from a grocery store
I
recently?
have.
Okay.
Not recently.
True
maybe.
confessions. Okay.
If I have.
So
I have.
you get that yogurt in the grocery store and you eat it, you take a bite, and you go, oh, that's yummy. And then you let it sit in your refrigerator for 4 more days and you taste it again. It will taste exactly the same.
Okay.
All right, now think about that. So we're talking about something that's supposed to be a live bacteria, right? In nature, a bacteria like that will keep eating all the sugar and it'll change. And eventually that bacteria is going to start farting out carbon dioxide, right? Because that's what it does. And it's going to start getting all bubbly and effervescent. That doesn't happen to commercial yogurt. I've never had it. I mean, I love commercial yogurt. It tastes good. But it's so what they do is they literally snip off the end of the genetic material in order to make that bacteria. It will ferment. It'll eat the sugars for a while, and then it'll just stop. It'll stop evolving.
So the bacteria that you're using to ferment the yogurt is genetically modified? That's basically, and yours, the way you're using...
It's beautiful. I mean, it's really brilliant because it makes it taste the same every time.
Okay.
Which is brilliant. That's what people want, right? It
From
doesn't
the
get
business
old.
perspective, yes.
It doesn't get old,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, that's the all-American. That's what we're striving for. How can we not get old, right? And so that's what we've learned with our cheeses and our yogurts. So it's one of the weird, they talk, you should eat probiotics. Yeah, but you need real probiotics. You need something that happens in nature.
And that's what y'all use for your fermented dairy products.
Yeah, of course.
And other people can use those as well.
Absolutely, you could. Yeah, I mean, start with any good raw milk, and you can make your own. Super easy. Just like
how would you do that?
Have you ever made sourdough, like your own starter?
No, I have not. I would like to though.
So I mean, it's basically just using nature, right? You take some dough, so flour, which has a lot of sugar and starch in it, which bacteria like to eat. And so you take that and you add some water to it, and you make a little ball. And you let it sit for a day, and the bacteria will start to grow. And then you add a little more flour and water to it, because the bacteria, in order to stay healthy, you need to keep adding because they need to keep eating more sugar.
Okay.
And basically, you keep doing that until you get a good, stable colony. Now, if you did it in a place that has really bad bacteria, you might get something really nasty. I mean, there's an opportunity for it to go wrong. But once you get it to the point where it's this great sour dough, as long as you keep feeding it and keep it within a certain temperature range and whatnot, it'll just keep growing and thriving. And that's what we do with dairy. So you can do the same thing with milk. So if you wanted to make yogurt without a culture at all, no culture.
Yeah, I'm curious about this.
You could just take really good milk, clean milk, and raw milk, and you could just put it at room temperature or at 110 degrees or 105 degrees or whatever temperature you wanted to do it at. And different bacteria thrive at different temperatures. So the reason most yogurt is about, I'll say cooked, but 107 to 110 degrees is that the bacteria that are favored at that temperature are a little sweeter.
Okay.
And people like sweet yogurt. So, I would say if you wanted the maximum health benefit, you'd want to do it around 100 degrees, right? Because that's where the stuff that's going to thrive in our internal ecosystem, right, is going to thrive. And if you want something that's going to build your internal ecosystem, not something that's just, right? I mean, some bacteria are going to be good for you, others not so much.
Okay, so you heat the milk up with that temperature for
for however long you want, or you just keep it, I would suggest you put it in a sunny windowsill, or something like that. And then you don't have to heat it up. People do it with a light bulb and a bread box. There are lots of different ways to do it.
In a glass jar, or
sure.
How much raw milk?
You start with a tiny little bit, and then every day you add some because it needs more sugar, just like with the sourdough bread.
And that's your starter for the
That's
yolk?
your starter, yep. And then you basically wait, and you want it to get this nice, sweet, sour kind of smell.
Not a bad smell, obviously.
Yeah, you want to smell it, right? I'm always smelling things, because you can, we were designed to know good from bad, right?
Having my supplement company, and when I was prototyping everything in the beginning, that was I was so thankful for my smell, because every test I started was my smell, and then I would start with my dogs, and I would do it in me, and it's like, oh wow, we all feel great. It smelled good. But then sometimes if I smelled something not even to do with the supplement company, with my dogs or food,
something
just
smells
so
off.
obvious.
You're like, wait a second, what's going on here?
I trust that.
Yeah, you should. To me, that's right. That's what that's my religion. It's like, how does it smell? How does it feel? How does it, And but anyway, yeah, it should smell right? And I'm always going to smell it before I taste it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
if it smells good, then I'm going to taste it. And if it tastes good, and if I haven't had it before, I'm probably going to wait a little while before I eat a ton of it, right? Because I want to make sure that it feels good also in my body, before I start wolfing it down, right?
I agree.
A lot of mushrooms taste good, but some of them you really shouldn't be eating.
This whole conversation seems to be around like the subtleties that are worth diving into.
I mean, I think I think one of the big problems we have right now is people feel so busy and overwhelmed, and they don't feel like they have the time to dive into anything, and it's hard to know, and then you get bombarded with all these marketing messages that sound really compelling.
It's
the
one of the reasons
products
I love
look pretty.
podcasts. I listen to podcasts when I'm doing other things and choose them wisely.
Yeah, we need a way to kind of get into the topics we care about and learn and be able to trust our information source. It's a big deal. Yeah.
So with that starter, what do you do from there? With the yogurt starter?
I mean, it's yogurt.
That's it?
Yeah. Once it's there and it smells good and it tastes good, it's good. No, there's nothing to add. No
sugar,
reason. No
honey.
No, I mean, you don't need anything. I like the Greek yogurt. I like to strain it,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for planting that seed. And I mean, you mentioned like people are overwhelmed and what to do and all that. I mean, what are some of the highest agency moves someone can make if they want to take some of their own food into their own hands? Like, if you have a private membership farm near
you is a brilliant thing to do.
That's the easy.
Sure, I agree.
But what if someone's like, I want to take it as far as like, what's the next? Like, should they get their own chickens? Do you think? How does someone?
I mean, chicken is a great one. Because I think, how do I want to say this? I mean, chicken on the industrial level is one of the worst foods we have. And people think chicken is healthy. Why? I'm not really sure. Good marketing.
Well. I'm skeptical of the chickens that I see at the grocery store.
Well, you should be.
I've also heard, are they like bleach? Is that Clorox? Do you know anything about that whole thing? I've heard these different things about chicken.
All I really know is that they've been breeding them for really, really fast growth.
Okay.
And they've gotten it, I think it's down to like 5 weeks now or something like that they're alive. And they grow really fast. And they've been having problems with the breast meat in particular, getting something like tumorous growths that are happening at 5 weeks of age, which, I mean, you think about how unhealthy something has to be to start growing a tumor that young. I mean, that's terrifying to me. But anyway, I mean, they keep lights on them 24/7. They're giving them feed 24/7. If they're not organic, they, giving them hormones to make them grow faster. Chickens, I think one of the easiest ways to up your game, right? You can grow your own chicken and you can grow your own eggs and you can feed your chickens scraps out of your backyard and they can eat. If you only have a few, you can just let them free range in your yard and they'll trim your grass and eat your flowers.
Have you heard of this idea of people having goats as a business? That they government hires them $100 a day to clear land?
Sure, yeah.
Do you know anyone that does that?
We're doing it with cows.
So the government might hire you to...
Yeah, and they pay good money. It's a really interesting thing. It's actually, I think it's a really great thing.
I do too. I'm like, it makes me want to get some goats.
Yeah, well, it's a good reason to get some goats. Goats, I mean, any ruminant animal really is fantastic for managing forest or pasture or yard or whatever you want as long as they're managed well. And you don't even have to breed them to do it because, you could buy some baby goats and have them for, I don't know how long goats live. We don't raise goats, but probably 15 years or something like that. And you wouldn't even have to breed, right? You could just get a bunch of goats and take them around and graze them. And, it's really just, goats, the hard part is fencing. Because they're really smart and curious and, they hate being fenced in.
Good point.
They're very ruggedly individualistic.
They also like some of them can smell. The billy goats.
The billy goats can smell.
I've never owned goats, but I've had different varieties of raw goat milks, and I've heard different things. Like, well, that's because the billy goat's right there, or that's because
that's exactly it. Yeah, it's hormones. So, and that's true with all meat. Like people, when you're raising pork, people are like, oh, you've got to castrate the boars when they're little, otherwise the meat's going to have boar taint. It's not true. It's the same as any teenage boy.
That whole conversation, I'm scared to get into it, especially with our limited time. But do y'all do castration with the cows?
No, we don't. We will do it. We will do it sometimes.
To like prevent bullfights or why?
So bulls are dangerous.
Yeah, I know. I probably don't know as well as you do.
Bulls are the one animal that we will castrate on the farm, but we keep more bulls than most people do because we want genetic diversity, and we don't like to think that we know better than our cows who they want to breed with. I feel like when you let the animals choose, it's kind of like what we were saying about smell earlier. Animals, they're attracted to different smells, and I think they have an intelligence that we don't know about. And I think that, some people smell bad to me and other people smell good to me, and probably different people will smell good and bad to you. And it's not good or bad. It's just what it works with your genetics and what works with mine, right? And I think it's the same with the animals. And, so I believe in letting them choose and lead their own kind of, right? I wouldn't want someone to tell me who I was.
I think that's great. I think that's why so many people are into what you're doing and want to have the food, but are also inspired by the story, because I think most people know this.
I think deep down we know how things should be.
Yeah.
We just don't have the time or the energy to want to. But if people knew how much better they would feel and how much happier they would be and how important health is, I can't tell you how many even young people who come to join the club arrive with cancer and they're about to start chemo and they want to start doing healthy food. And I believe strongly in the power of food to heal and the power of good relationships and the power of happiness and psychology and chewing your food. There's so many different things, but our culture is focused so much on wealth and power and so little on health and happiness. I think we'd do so much better if we just shifted that a little bit.
Yeah, you're like, you seem to be, by the way you're living, you're sort of providing a blueprint for others to.
I'm trying, man. I just do it what makes me happy, And I think if we could find ways to, find a path that worked that made us happy, I don't know. I think we'd do better.
This might be the first time I've seen you outside the farm.
I never leave. If I'm leaving the farm, I'm usually going to the ranch.
But
I did go and visit my husband's mom, a couple weeks ago in North Carolina. But I don't.
Didn't you go to Iceland or something for a wedding?
We did. We went to Iceland for a wedding. Yeah, a couple years ago. That was super cool. But I don't leave the farm much. I don't really want to.
I think that's what. I think that's the gap. People think they couldn't. That sounds crazy to them.
I think it doesn't sound like fun. And I think if your work isn't fun, then yeah. Of course I'd want to go on vacation if I didn't like my daily life. I'd want to go all the time.
But why don't more people realize that maybe the fun and the happiness they're looking for is realizing some of these things that we scratch the surface of and living in alignment with that?
And I think if people got some chickens in their backyard and raised their own eggs and actually even learned how to kill their own chicken when it was time.
The killing of the animals is an impactful experience, whether it's hunting or
it is
processing, because then, really, a life-death thing gets a lot closer.
It does, and I think that's good for us. The life-death thing is real. Like, people are born and people die. We're not going to stop that this lifetime or next, And we get so scared of it, but I think we'd do better if we got a little more comfortable with it.
Well, was there an inspiration for you? What inspired this?
You mean when we started?
Yeah.
I loved animals and I was sick. I wanted to be healthy and I wanted to be with animals. It's like, yeah, I hate what I'm doing. I want to do something I love. I mean, that's not true that I hated what I was doing, but I wasn't inspired. I was doing architecture, and I love architecture, but it's like people wanted they just wanted to beat the neighbors. They wanted a better house for less money. And I don't blame them. Who doesn't want a better house for less money? But there's no soul in that. Rather than wanting it better than your neighbor, how about wanting to have a house that really fits you well? Right? That little straw bale, cob house you saw. I mean, right? That wasn't better than anybody's house. It was just a great little house, It felt like home. And it's like, if we were just striving for a great little house that felt like home with a good community, I think we'd be happier. I mean, right?
I think that's becoming more apparent to people more than ever.
I think you're right. I mean, I think there are more young people who are aware. Like when I was young, I had no awareness of that. I was just trying to win. It was a long journey. I'm so glad that I took all the blows I did, right, to wake me up.
There is something brewing. I even with my company, I notice a lot of like when I'm around CU or the sauna, the college kids are like all about the tallow balm, all about eating liver.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, these things, and overall, like I got hounded. What'd you say about raw milk? I'm like, this is like happening for sure.
I think it is. I mean, I think people are wanting something real, and they're realizing they're sick. I mean, how can you miss it? How sick people are right now, it's terrible.
But you can in Boulder. Boulder's a little bit of a bubble.
There's still
many
sick
I know.
people.
But I'm like, when I leave this town, though, it's more physically apparent.
Yeah, no, I mean, everybody's a lot more in shape. They're a lot more aware, but it's still rough. I mean, that's, and I think it's hard because, I mean, our whole environment's so toxic. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? You can eat clean food, but you're still breathing the air. You're still drinking the water. You're still, right? It's like we all have exposures. So, it's like
resilience
you gotta
seems to be a thing to tap into. I think it's one of
Strive
the reasons I
for.
love that liver. I feel more resilient eating the liver.
I think liver is one of the things that really helps you heal. and one of the things that we tend not to have enough of.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think it's real. Yeah.
Well, I trust our health is as best as it can be, and it keeps getting better. And I thank you for helping people want that for themselves as well, and get
thanks.
it.
Thanks for inviting me. This is fun.
I get a lot of my calories from your services.
Well, thank you.
Can you tell I've gained a little weight? I've been drinking a little bit more. I've been trying to drink a lot more milk. I think that's why someone heard me say something like, I'm keep on this weight by my milk. But I do. I think when I only eat meat and eggs and liver and stuff like that, I'll get so thin. The milk helps me stay.
Well, milk has a lot more sugar in it.
It's good. Did I ever tell you we did a raw vegan diet and my brother drank 6 gallons of raw milk a week to recover from it?
Wow.
Did I ever tell you that story?
No, I don't think you did.
Oh, I should show you some pictures. He went from like a rail thin raw vegan that was losing his mind to like a freaking gladiator. And he's never gone back. He's still a gladiator. Yeah. He's like 30 pounds heavier than me and stronger. I'm like bigger.
It's hard to be vegan. I've done it. I mean, I get the impulse. It's just hard.
Well, in Costa Rica, when I think about going to Costa Rica, I'm like, I could do the raw vegan diet again for a month.
Coconut milk.
Yeah, coconut water all day, baby.
Yeah, right. There's some things that you could do there. Fish, right? I guess you can't have fish as a vegan.
Yeah, but the fish is good.
Fish. The fish is good.
I love ceviche because it digests like
awesome.
fruit, but it hits like meat.
Yeah, ceviche. Oh, that sounds good. I don't get a whole lot of that on the farm.
Well, we hit the 3 o'clock mark.
Awesome.
Pretty fast.
Right.
Thank you for spending an hour with me off the farm.
Yeah.
I'll probably see you
there.
Very I owe you 8 bottles of the. I think they came in on my walk here.
All right. Yeah.
All the shipping and logistics. I
I
bet you deal
trust
with
you.
a lot of stuff as well.
We're good.
Any question for me before we say see you?
It's a pleasure.
See you at the
It's a
milk
pleasure
stand.
Talking. Yeah.
Thank you,
All
Alice.
right,
Oh, by
thanks
the
for having me.
way, because I don't think have you written a book?
No.
Okay,
I
but your
keep wanting to.
newsletters. So if someone wants
know.
to, because you don't even have to be a member or live in Boulder to get wisdom out of your newsletters.
Yeah, I would
There are
send
people-
newsletters to people. if they
But
wanted.
how do they subscribe? Do they go to the website goldenhoof.com?
Sure.
Thegoldenhoof.com.
Yeah. They
Thegoldenhoof.com.
get my contact there. Yeah, I'd be happy to send people newsletters.
Do you have a way to sign up for those?
No, they'd have to
you
call
are
me.
Old school.
Oh, I
with
am
that
so
part.
old school.
Man, you
it's
got.
not even funny.
I bet someone's gonna watch this and I'm like, I'm gonna create her a newsletter.
It's just the link, Those legs are tricky.
All right. Well, thank you. Keep breaking
Thank
normal.
you for having me.
Thank you all.
All right, cheers.